Hello, welcome to another day with a dietitian. I'm your host, Alicia, Food for Success dietitian and sports dietitian. On today's video, we're going to be walking through how to grocery shop. So everything from creating a strategy, a plan, a list before you step into the grocery store to managing your shop. So stay tuned, there's going to be lots of helpful tips and tricks, and of course you can always take snippets of what I recommend and create your own. I always start my grocery shopping by figuring out a little bit of a framework for what I'm going to be eating the next week. Typically, I have a pretty structured way of eating, and I feel like for a lot of people, having some structure in terms of knowing different types of meals you're going to be having throughout the day makes it easier to know what to get when you're at the grocery store. So basically, I break my eating into 4 to 6 times a day that I'm eating, depending how busy I am. So those can be broken down into my pre-workout, my post-workout or my breakfast, my lunch, my afternoon snack, my dinner, and then sometimes even having a bedtime snack. As you can see, I started here by writing out all my meal types throughout here and then filling in some ideas. So I don't necessarily have like strict portions listed here. It's more just the types of food. So then when I go to the grocery store, I know the kinds of foods that I will be getting. I don't necessarily need to be buying all of the ingredients listed here, just things that I don't necessarily need. So step 1 is writing out the foods you're going to be having, and then step 2 would be, okay, so what do I already have and what do I need to buy? After going through the meal ideas that I had and going through my cupboard to figure out what I already have, like the pasta, the rice, oatmeal, some basic ingredients, protein bars I already had, I figured out what I need. There's a lot of even staples that I'm running out of this week that maybe I wouldn't typically need to buy. So I created this list down at the bottom, so that will just help me guide when I am grocery shopping what to actually get so that I don't go in and just grab random things. Have no fear if you're not someone that likes to write out your food. Maybe you're someone that likes to be a little bit more creative or have more variety and come up with your meals as you go. For some of us, meal planning is like, hey, no, that is boring as heck. I need more variety in my life. I have a different strategy for you. So I'm gonna show you that right now. So what you can do if you are someone that loves variety and loves just to kind of be a little more creative with your food, maybe you don't like meal planning, maybe you just don't have the effort for it, or you have gotten kind of into a rhythm where you know the kinds of foods and you'd like to be a little bit more intuitive and see how you feel when you get to a meal. This is another strategy where basically you're splitting your grocery list into different sections of the grocery store. So going through, like when you enter this grocery store, when you go through the produce section, what fruits and vegetables are you gonna get? Like you see here that I break it up into sections. In the fridge section, I have your eggs, your dairy products, your alternative, possibly proteins or milks, the freezer section, the butcher, the bakery, and pantry staples. Don't forget the pantry staples. So that is another tactic that you can have approaching grocery shopping and planning before you go. Now that you have your list, let's head on over to the grocery store. See you there. So we're here at Loblaws, Maple Leaf Garden, taking you through a little bit of a grocery haul. Excuse the mess, so we're still kind of in lockdown in Toronto, taking all the proper procedures to make sure that I'm minimizing the spread. So we're starting with the produce section. This is always the first section that I go to. So with the produce section, again, I mentioned there's 3 breakdowns of vegetables. So for our snacking vegetables, we're gonna be grabbing things like baby cucumbers, baby carrots, and the snacking peppers. When we're looking at more the roasting vegetables, we're talking about zucchini, eggplant, asparagus, green beans, anything that you kind of basically throw in a pan and throw in the oven and roast them. And then for salad ingredients, we're looking more for mixed greens and tomatoes, things you can create a big salad with. So making sure you're hitting all your boxes with the vegetables you're getting. So after I have my vegetables all in my cart, I'm gonna be grabbing some fish, my seafood for the week, and some meat from the butcher area. Something that's really important that I find for myself is I don't like treating myself with having like indulgent food, but instead sometimes I splurge a little bit more on getting higher quality ingredients. So getting a really nice cut of fish or seafood that maybe I wouldn't otherwise get if I'm budgeting. But having that little bit of like almost like an indulgence can help you feel good on track with your nutrition and still have something delicious. Before I leave this area of the grocery store where the produce is and the fish and the meat, I'm just gonna grab some fruit. So when selecting fruit, you do want to choose a lower sugar fruit, such as berries, citrus, apples, pears. So they're going to be ones you want to be having throughout the day so that our blood sugar stays nice and stable. And then for our higher sugar fruit, choosing one or two of those to have when you're more active, or pairing it into another meal with other lower sugar foods. So such things as bananas, mangoes, grapes, tropical fruit. So I'm going to be picking up some bananas. So they're my key staple in terms of a higher sugar fruit that I would be having near my training sessions. So we've come over into the fruit section next. So this is where I'm going to be getting my dairy products, my eggs, my egg whites, and tofu. So when we're looking at the yogurt, there's a lot of different options. So there's the regular yogurt, there's probiotic yogurt, there's Greek yogurt, and there's also skyr. So there's lots to choose from. Generally, for a lot of people, I usually recommend going towards a Greek or a skyr or specified high protein yogurt, because it's an easy way to kind of add extra protein to your meals, specifically breakfast and snacks. So I'm a big fan of both Greek and skyr for that. I would make sure that when you're choosing those, you are looking for a slightly lower milk fat, so I'd say 2% or lower, depending on your dietary preferences and your goals. You also want to be a little bit more aware of the sugar content. A lot of the regular yogurts, because they're not higher in protein, they're going to be quite high in sugar. So you want to be cautious of that when you're looking at the labels. Versus the Greek and the skyr, they're going to be higher protein, so a little bit lower on the carb side, but still making sure you're looking at the flavor versus the plain. I would say choose a plain Greek yogurt, so such as this one here. This one's 2%, there is 0% as well in the Liberté. The skyr is a nice alternative, especially for people that don't like the sourness of Greek yogurt. It's a little bit more mild. So with the skyr yogurt, I would also be getting the plain. So this is a really good option here, the PC brand. So something to kind of look at when you're at the store looking for yogurt. With the plain, a lot of people are like, oh my god, it's so sour though. I would play around with toppings. So adding some low sugar jam and maybe some peanut butter or chopped nuts into it, adding your own fruit, or even adding in a little bit of honey or maple syrup with your fruit in there can help you add a lot of sweetness, and it still will be less sugar content than the flavored ones at the grocery store. So I'm going to be talking about bread for a second. I went to go grab some spreaded grain bread, as well as some gluten-free bread because my household is gluten-free with celiac disease, but I just wanted to talk about a label thing. So on a lot of breads, you'll see whole grain or whole wheat, and a lot of people automatically assume that's the same thing, and that you're going to be getting the same nutritional benefit. However, not necessarily whole wheat is equal to whole grain versus multigrain. You want to be looking for whole grain on the label, or whole wheat, not multigrain or high fiber, because they're not all the same. So say for example, I grab this multigrain loaf, so that just means multi-grain, and the first ingredient is actually pea starch, and then it goes tapioca starch, and there's actually no mention on the label of a whole grain at all. Versus this one, it's a little bit better, still multigrain. The second ingredient, it goes gluten-free flour blend with different starches, and then it goes whole grain blend on the label there. And then I grabbed just a spreaded grain bread here, and actually the first ingredient on here is wheat, because of course it's a wheat bread. A little bit harder with gluten-free breads to get whole grain, but there is some out there, usually whole teff or sorghum. So just when you're looking on there, make sure you're looking at the first ingredient says the whole wheat or whole grain that you're looking for. So one thing that's a very hot topic right now are alternative milks. I think a lot of people are confused. They see almond milk, soy milk, dairy milk, and all sorts of like oat milk, things like that, and I think people are very, very confused what to get. So generally speaking, I would ask yourself, why are you having that milk? For a lot of people, having the calcium or the protein is very, very beneficial. So that's where I would say maybe don't necessarily automatically assume that dairy milk is bad. If you're someone that you just you're vegan, plant-based, you can't tolerate dairy, the next best alternative to get enough protein and calcium in one package would be going towards a soy milk. If you're someone that, hey, I'm not good with soy, I'm not good with dairy, all good with me, so I would actually look more towards the ones, you want to make sure that it says fortified on it. So when you're looking at the label, you want to make sure that it has the fortification on the label here, or it says in big letters that it's fortified. So this one, it does say on here, fortified almond beverage, so that's what you're looking for. Not all of them are. So if you look at the oat milk, oftentimes they aren't necessarily fortified. This one is, but not all of them are. And you also want to be a little bit aware that the almond milk, or the oat milk, yes, it's tasty, delicious. It is going to be a lot higher in carbs than any other milk alternative. So just being aware if you are someone that you're watching your carb content, yes, it's a milk alternative, but it is going to be a lot higher in carbohydrates. So from here, I'm going to be grabbing a protein powder. You can watch the Popeyes video to understand a little bit more about different proteins. I just get the same brand Iron Vegan here that I can get at Popeyes when I'm on the go getting groceries. And then I'm going to be making a quick pit stop at the freezer section. Last least, we go through the middle of the grocery store where more of our pantry items are. I would say don't skip this section because there's a lot of really valuable stuff here. So for example, a lot of your grains you can find here, your carb sources, so your pastas, your oatmeal, your rice, even looking at quinoa, things like that, your baking essentials to add flavor to your oatmeal, like your vanilla, cinnamon, all the spices and herbs for cooking, vinegar, olive oil, all sorts of wonderful things you can find in the midsection. It's more so knowing what you're getting. So I picked up some crushed canned tomatoes to add to my ground turkey for the week, and I picked up some different spices and herbs. So it's really just having a game plan when you come into the middle section, because it's very, very easy to get lost and almost get consumed by some of the box things or the snacks. So I would say kind of avoid those sections, but gravitating towards more of the canned and pantry goods. Thank you so much for coming along with me today. I hope you learned a few tips that you can take with you the next time you go grocery shopping. Have a wonderful day.